This conference will now be recorded.
All right, everybody, let's call this meeting to order at 9:01. Roll call.
Mike Flory.
Here.
Shane.
Here.
Jeff Hilbert.
Here.
Kristen Sanders.
Here.
Wes Bonheim. Absent.
Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag, of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good, seated? All right. All right, first page done. All right, let's move on to public comment. Anyone in this vast crowd have a public comment that is not on the agenda for today? No? Okay, move on to consent calendar. Anyone have anything on the consent calendar that you'd like pulled for this later discussion? Or do we want to just approve the bills, the minutes, and the operational status reports that everybody's already pre-reviewed? Anybody?
Nope, I had my questions answered yesterday.
I did want to just say one thing real quick. The consent calendar does include the operational status report. This is the first time we're trying that out. We may go back to our old way of just everyone goes over their operational procedure or operational what they've done for the month. So we're trying to do this this month just to see how that goes and streamline the board meeting. And feel free to pull it and ask any detailed questions on anything that you may have. Yeah, trying that.
Okay. Yeah, I think if there's more people in the public that might have questions, I would have pulled it. But I have my questions answered.
Okay, Kristen? Yeah?
Yeah.
We're all good?
Mm-hmm.
Let's get a motion on.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the bills and the, operational, what were you calling it? The operational
Status report.
status report.
And the minutes.
And I'll second it as soon as she says in minute.
Roll call.
Jeff Hilbert.
Aye.
Wes Bonheim. Absent. Kristen Sanders.
Aye.
Esther Shane.
Aye.
Mike Flory.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, nothing has been pulled from the consent calendar, so we will move on to correspondence discussion items. Director's reports. I don't have much. Agenda setting meeting. What else did I do, Chris? Got it?
Third wildfire.
Yeah, sure, it doesn't matter. Wildfire drill was lovely. Next, discussion.
Just budget meetings.
Yeah, same, or, yeah, we did the budget meetings and then, just really good feedback on the sports court. And, also kind of participated in the Garberville. We're trying to do a business tax in Garberville. It's pretty interesting conversation. But yeah, that's all. Alrighty.
Oh, I did forget something. I did have a meeting at Mario's with Chris
Oh,
and the county and Michelle Bushnell. It was very informative. Yeah.
I really have nothing. I got to have a brief moment with Jessica and the office staff, but it was very brief.
Thank you very much. All right. Still have a lot. Okay. Correspondence number 2, Humboldt County correspondence. What do we got, Chris?
I did reach out to Lieutenant Kyle Holt with the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office. He said he's in training all day, so he might be able to provide an update on law enforcement here in Shelter Cove. So no update for the county.
Okay. Good. Moving on quickly. I like this new format.
Oh, I'm sorry. Maybe. Let me check. No, not on mine.
Okay, we'll move on to correspondence discussion item number 3, third quarter 2025-2026 budget review. Chris, take it away.
Yeah, so the budget, the third quarter budget is attached. It's everything fiscal year July 2025 through the end of March 2026. Some items of note in the report under income. We have not received the second installment of property tax, which typically arrives in late April. So we're a little bit behind in that. So thus the operational income amount is lower than what we anticipated when we budgeted. But we should be getting that any day, and then we'll see where we end up on income on that. There have been more electrical line extension requests than average, so you can see a much larger amount collected than budgeted in that line item. Connection revenue in general is higher than budgeted. In fact, I'll be updating next month on connections and revenue and numbers of connections as requested by the board last year when we changed ordinance number 72 to lower the capacity charge component of the connection charge. So I'll provide some data next month on that one. And the well site improvements grant was closed out with a surplus. So that was a good thing we worked with the county on, and that helps. Expense-wise, some budget line items are paid only once per year, such as workers' comp insurance and PERS unfunded accrued liability. So these line items are completed. Other expense line items have been completed due to early fiscal year one-time purchasing, such as power pole and transformer replacements, and some capital expenses. The SCADA system programming capital expense went over budget due to unforeseen work to manage that project. So that was for the water side. Reserves, I want to provide a report on reserves too. The level of operational budget reserve has declined since the beginning of the fiscal year, mainly due to the previously mentioned one-time fiscal year expenditures and the lack of the second property tax revenue to date. That will hopefully help out our reserves. And you can see in the attached table and graph that compare the level of operational reserves from the beginning of the fiscal year to the end of the third quarter. Please note that these numbers reflect only operational expenses. They do not include grant funds, capital expenses, and other funds, such as pension funds or renter deposits. And that provides a more accurate depiction of actual operational expenses and reserves. You can see we're at about 6 months, 5.7 months in reserves right now. So that's kind of right where we have put our level of reserves, the guide in our reserve policy. I know it used to be 1 year, and we changed that to 6 months. So we're there, and we should get better once we get the second property tax installment in the county.
Great.
Are there any questions on the third quarter budget review here?
Anybody?
No, I have mine. Answer this way.
I could just really quickly, I want to hear more about the line extensions and getting back to the hookups. We lowered that for a reason. It sounds like that direction is kind of working, but what's the line extensions and what are we looking at on costs?
I can ask John to expand on that, but basically not every area of Shelter Cove has electricity to the property, and the property owner, if they want electrical connection, they have to pay a line extension, which means extra poles going to their property. It's hard to know at the beginning of the fiscal year if we're going to get connections in those zones. So it's really hard to budget. We usually do a conservative budget on that based on averages. So this year, for some reason, there's been a lot of people connecting to electricity outside of our already powered zones. So John, would you like to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, so anywhere where the power line's not within 100 feet is the district policies for line extension. So basically, if you're more than 100 feet, it's a line extension, and then depending on price of materials and whatnot, it's based on how the line extension is filled out to then usually do it by a per pole basis. And that includes putting the pole in, wire, and everything.
So do we make money when we do a line extension? I'm very aware of them because I'm in one of those areas that I would love to have poles. And do you only do poles or do you go underground? Why are we doing poles and not going underground?
do the poles up the hill because, we got the county easement to go through. And underground it's a lot of money. So, and then we got, obviously fix the road after we dig it up and everything like that. So it'd be fairly cost prohibitive to go underground up the hill.
You're talking to the homeowner.
Yeah, because all the line extension is built for them.
Okay, and so do we make a profit or do we break even? And what's the average amount of poles that are put in?
Usually it's one. Sometimes it just depends. Like the one we did on Burns Court was 2. So, usually 1 to 2. The one that we did on Rawhide, I think was 4. So it just depends.
And so do we break even? Do we make money? What do we do?
It's hard to say because you factor in labor. It's about even.
I don't know, I have a question too for John. I don't know if there are line extensions in the underground service area. We don't do line extensions there because it's already all wired, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, because if you go underground, basically, that's another thing why you don't go underground is you have to build it out. So you can't just, hang a transformer on a pole. You gotta dig it up. If you didn't have a transformer there, dig it up, pull out the old wire, pull in new so you have enough to splice it. You have to put either splice boxes at like every 4th lot, be able to feed those lots in the future.
Yeah, pull boxes. No, I get it. So, but again, there's also got to be a factor. Maybe Nick would like to weigh in on this one that, every time we invest in overground, and I'm not talking hills, I agree, it's too expensive. But burying them when we can has got to be better than the opportunity of a transformer blowing or a potential fire risk, just on liability to rid.
Yeah. But at the same time, then you got all your transformers on the ground too.
Yeah, but you got them, but they're in an underground vault. They're not in a.
Well, yeah, most of them are pad mount.
Okay. What's your opinion, Nick?
As far as just the pure fire safety.
Yeah.
So the fire safety aspect, and obviously anything underground is safer. Distribution lines are usually not as big of a fire hazard as transmission lines. When you guys hear on the news, fire started by PG&E, all that kind of stuff, those are the much larger lines. Lower level stuff, we've only had 2 in the 20 years that I've been keeping records of fire causes in Shelter Cove. First one was actually never proven that it was a line, it was above the general store. Second one was down at our generator plant, and that one was a line that malfunctioned and exploded. Basically, a hot ceramics is what started the fire. We put it out. So we don't have a long history, but the potential is always there. But again, it is cost. Anything is going to be a financial decision at this point.
Thank you. Thank you, John, by the way. Anybody else?
All right, we can move on then. District strategic planning.
All right, so we'll probably only have one more update to these, and then we'll probably spread out the updates into longer time periods. But this monthly update, since the previous regular board meeting, staff have attended multiple online planning meetings with the consultant strategic plan facilitator in preparation for the 2-day workshop at the end of this month, which is actually just next weekend, Friday and Saturday, May 29th and 30th. The 2-day workshop will focus on refining the district's strategic plan while serving as a team building exercise for the board and senior staff. Senior staff will meet with the strategic plan consultant one more time before the workshop, and that will be tomorrow morning, to go over 5 3-year goals with numerous objectives and narrow them down to about 3 to 5 objectives per goal. This is the format we'll be taking. So pretty short update on this one. So the recommendation is to continue to work with staff to develop the district's strategic plan. Any questions or comments?
I got nothing. Anybody else on the table?
I'm just looking forward to the workshop. So I really enjoyed talking to Hillary.
Yeah, I think he called every board member. I don't know if he ever got to you, Jeff.
No, he reached out when I was in Italy and it just wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting.
So the sports court update. We'll do public comment after all these are done.
Okay, sports court update. Since the last board meeting, BDM Construction completed the parking area with painted lines, wheel stops, and ADA signage and surface material. In fact, the final county inspection for that, those improvements are happening today. North Coast Fencing installed perimeter fencing and gates. BDM Construction also installed 2 basketball poles and moved the Prop 68 sign onto the fence. We put some other signage on there too, including rules signage. Staff ordered and received the court paint and moved the aluminum bleachers from the existing pickleball courts location on Upper Pacific Drive next to the court. This was a request from the Shelter Cove Pickleball Club with permission from the bleachers owner, Star. It's basically just like 2 benches. And then you can see a summary of income and expenses. I do have an update. I did have to purchase another little bit more paint, so it went up on the total for expenses. So as the table show, the sports court construction project has officially gone over budget, and it says in the report by $716. With the addition of this paint purchase, it's actually $1,151 over that 189,829 figure. So any future costs for the court will have to be budgeted for next fiscal year. This may involve such potential charges as landscaping, vegetation, optional windscreen material for the fencing, and whatever else may arise. Next steps are to apply the court paint, but as I can report, happily, volunteers completed that task last weekend and yesterday. Shelter Cove Pickleball Club volunteers, I want to name them: Kurt Odra, Bruce Christie, Wendy Ball, Steve Soderquist. I'm sure I have his last name correct, but he was out there too, and they were all painting the lines with really hard work. Wendy, Sunny, Wendy Ball also, that I mentioned. So yeah, they were all out there. Big thanks to them. Really helps out, and the end product looks really great. Did a really great job. And I've also coordinated with Six Rivers Portable Toilets to change the airport parking area portable toilet to an ADA accessible one and move it next to the court in that sort of south west corner. That will happen next week. And staff will also need to add requirements for court usage into existing district policy. And we've already installed the rule signage onto the court fencing. So the latest talk is sort of a ribbon cutting grand opening celebration. The club would like to see, they've reached out to Supervisor Michelle Bushnell, and they'd like to see it potentially on Saturday, June 6th, be sort of a ceremonial ribbon cutting ceremony. So I don't know if the board is open to that, but that could be a discussion point here.
I'm not going to be in town that weekend.
How does that work with the Brown Act? Are we still allowed to all convene, or?
Official business is going on.
I also wanted to say that I'm glad that the bathrooms are getting moved. You know, I'd heard some feedback from Trent and like another pilot about, and I didn't really understand till we flew in the other day. And when you come around with your plane to park in those spots, you have to go on the grass, especially when the parking's super tight. Otherwise, there's not really, I mean, you can back up, but it's just so much easier to come in and then put your wing over the grass. And then also the where you pay the parking fees, it's way too close to the airport too. So if you have a low wing plane, you can't go over the grass that 3 feet. if you have a high wing, you can go over it. But I was kind of wondering, like he'd given me some feedback and I didn't really understand what he meant by it. But now that I was like, oh, this is why. So anyways, maybe moving everything back like 8 feet or something. Yeah. But yeah, so I'm glad to hear about the porta potties getting moved.
Yeah, we'll have to make sure we anchor it down early.
Yeah. But it just gives the amp more room because it gets pretty tight, especially weekends like this, I'm sure.
How's our revenue doing with the landing fees?
Better than budgeted. I think we just thought maybe $1,000, and we are at $1,024 in the third quarter budget report. I think we actually have a little bit more.
Good.
So we got what we kind of expected and then some.
Fantastic, thank you.
Revenue we didn't have any other year. And that could go towards the airport. Maintenance, you talked about the grass, for instance. So we have expenditures and trying to maintain that.
Yeah. Oh, I wasn't worried about the grass though. It's just really close to like the actual cement,
Yeah.
so your wing can't go over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and it
that-
just gets really tight. It's hard to visualize because I was kind of like, then I was like, oh, I see. Like otherwise, you're like having to back it up, and when it's on those really crowded days, most of the time when you come in, you just turn around. You have your wing out, obviously, and yeah, you just
I can
turn it
speak to
around.
staff about relocating
Yeah.
that box.
Okay, thank you.
But yeah, that revenue is more than paid for the box at this point.
Great. Nice.
I like that. Okay. Anybody else got anything?
I'd just like to say thank you to everyone that has helped get this done. And with all the feedback that I've been seeing on social media, it is very much appreciated.
And I forget to mention Mike Bruno too. Mike Bruno.
Yeah.
Went all out on this.
Yeah, good. Okay, well, let's move on to the special tax increase proposal. Okay, Chris.
Yeah, so we're down to the wire on this one. Since the last board meeting, the ballot measure with Measure A has been mailed to all registered voters in the district. I responded to interviews by Lost Coast Outpost and Cape Mud News about the measure. More yes and A signs have cropped up in the community. And I've actually been asked for more, but we're out now. But we're down to only about 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks until the voting ends. So staff and the board also held a special town hall style meeting April 30th to inform the public on the measure and answer any questions. Visit Lost Coast posted a supportive piece online, so very grateful for that. And the voting is scheduled to end on Tuesday, June 2nd. If the measure passes, the additional charge will appear on property tax statements beginning the very next fiscal year, 26, 27. So it will be an immediate revenue source if it does pass.
Fantastic.
Don't forget to vote.
Yeah, so everyone, please vote.
Yeah.
Please vote.
Anything else? Got anything on this topic?
No.
All right, thank you for the update on that.
Oh, and we'll know on June 2nd or June 3rd.
It
Or that-
depends on how close the vote is.
Yeah. Oh, right. Oh,
It's been a while.
okay. Never mind. Then yeah. Well, okay.
Yeah, for instance, there was something in the news
Yeah.
about the county found 600 or so
know.
votes. So we don't know.
All right, we'll move on to the last one, retirement of the county administrator, Tony Lair.
Yeah, I want to thank Tesha and Maureen in the office for putting this report together. It's really well written, but I'll read it. So yeah, as everyone may or may not know, County Administrator Tony Lair is retiring next month after more than 20 years of dedicated service to the district. Tony leaves behind a legacy of reliability, integrity, and commitment. She's a true Shelter Cove native from a distinguished local lineage. Tony is living Lost Coast history with many incredible stories to tell of her childhood in our remote seaside hamlet. Tony started working at RID as a part-time clerk in 2005. She began training for the position of accounting administrator, and in 2013, she stepped into that role full-time, accompanied by her faithful dog, Dory. Throughout her career, Tony expertly managed payroll, billing, bookkeeping, utility accounts, administration of health benefits, and financial operations with professionalism and care. She has consistently brought accountability, steadfastness, and dedication to each task, becoming not only a trusted employee, but a valued fixture of the district's daily operations. Tony has also been an exceptional, thoughtful coworker and friend, always willing to lend support, share kindness, and bring a steady, calming presence to those around her. It has been an honor to work beside Tony and benefit from her many years of loyal service. Her contributions have been immeasurable, and she will be greatly missed. We thank her for the positive impact she has had on the district and the Shelter Cove community. We wish Tony a happy, relaxing, and well-deserved retirement. So recommendation is a round of applause, and big hugs and kisses tears. She's not in the office today, but she's kind of got more than one foot out the door, kind of coming in part-time, helping out with training. So,
Good for her.
Yeah.
What a great person.
Any board comments on this topic?
Yeah, I'm sad to see her go, but I don't blame her for going.
I would just say that, she really has been steadfast, and I worked with her for 7.5 years in the office, and she really was a very calming, consistent force, and really showed me like how much integrity the district staff does have. And sometimes there's a narrative out in the community sometimes that it's like, oh, the district this, the district that, in the negative context. And really, when you get behind the scenes and you meet the people who are providing these services and are so committed on a daily basis, it really, just it put my heart at ease on how the district operates, because staff is truly, and especially Tony, have just so much integrity, and we really are fortunate to have that. And I know it's big shoes to fill, and I think Brooke is up to the challenge. I'm excited for that, for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kristen?
I mean, I agree with Tesha. Everything she said. I've known Tony since I was a kid, so I think she's just been she is an amazing person, and hopefully she really left her imprint. Yeah, being a really kind, dependable person. Yeah.
I want to say that the only thing you have when you leave, especially this job, is the image and the impression that you leave on people. She's left a really, really great image, and she's a fantastic person.
Yeah.
I consider her my friend.
Fantastic. With that being said, we can go to public comment about any one of these topics. Anyone in the public, this vast crowd, would like to come up to the podium and make some comments?
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy.
Somebody be Arlen, will you?
It's so quiet.
I'll say one thing.
Okay.
See, that's encouragement.
Yeah.
Alexander.
I'm extremely proud of this board for getting the sports court pushed through and built and done. I've been part of this community for 30 years, and I'm not sure I've ever seen a board finish a project they started. This is a really big deal. You guys, I know there was a lot of back and forth and things, but you got it done. Every day I see kids and adults out there playing basketball, every day since it's been finished. Now, this is a really big thing for the community. I really thank you all, and I thank the staff for getting it all done. It's just a wonderful addition to Shelter Cove. Thank you.
Thank you.
You gotta give it up to the Pickleball Foundation and Mike Bruno and all the above. They did a great job.
A lot of parents have approached me and said that they're really enjoying that time out there with little ones. They can lower down the baskets and they shoot on one end and the bigger kids on the other end. And it's really just nice to see the kids out playing and having a good time. I really, really enjoy that. They can't see them at the playground over here, which is a shame, but at least down there I see the kids enjoying themselves, and it's something really nice to see and magical in this community. And hopefully the kids from the little ones can go over and start utilizing that space as well. The first 5 shows up and does their thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna be a good thing in the future.
I think it even forced Mike to go out and get some basketballs for his grandkids.
I got two,
Nice.
I got short ones and dollar ones, so I do the same thing.
Yeah, it's really made like that weird hour between before dinner and after school much more enjoyable. You know, you don't have to depend on like the ocean tide or, you know, you just go run down there and.
Pickleball paddles, if any board members would like to come out and learn how to play.
Mm.
On that note, the two pickleball nets we purchased, Kurt Odra said he can volunteer to put them together today or tomorrow, probably tomorrow.
Fantastic.
They'll be there tomorrow.
And then those are like adjustable where you can move them out of the way, or are they, they're not permanent?
Portable, they have wheels, so you can move them, and there's plenty of space along the fence to store them outside of the basketball court.
How often are we gonna have to replace those? What's their lifespan?
I don't know, I'll have to find that out. Yeah. Depends on how, I guess, well they're treated too.
Right. Okay. All right. Anybody else? No? All right, let's move on. Just one quick. Action item number 1, review and approve district year-end financial statements for 2021-2022 second reading. Chris?
Yeah, well, this was, we brought this back, because there were some corrections that we needed to make from the first reading. And you can see attached, those pages with the corrections, with the highlights, the yellow highlights, those are the corrections. And you can see how that compares, pages in the report. The board first reviewed it at, last month's meeting. Staff and the auditor made corrections and highlighted in the attached report. So final bound copies of the report will be made available after board approval. And I know Jessica's been working hard with the district CPA, Fetcher and Company, and Auditor O'Connor and Company to finish up the 2022, 23, and 23, 24 financial statements. And we should be having those in the board meeting now. And also a site visit is in the works too, so that will help.
That's fantastic. We needed to get these caught up.
Yeah, I know this will be a requirement once we apply for more grant.
Correct. Yeah, that's great. That's great. I'm no accountant, but look good to me. Anybody else?
No, I'm just really excited about getting caught up. I know this is a huge project for your office staff, and thank you, Jessica. And the changes were relatively minor that they did make, and so I'm glad to hear that they're also going to be doing an on-site visit. We will be updated when you're coming when that happens.
Yeah, we don't have a date yet, but,
Is that gonna be expensive?
no, it's part of the, I went back and read the engagement letter with it, and it said part of the rate for them
Cool.
to visit. I think they were just trying to.
Yeah.
But I also did want to update you too. I don't know if you remember in the management report, it talked about us having a new, what was it called? Some sort of a procedure manual. And we are going to begin working on that together. So obviously it won't be that same comment will probably appear on every single year because we're just putting it together now.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
I'm gonna say, Jessica, thanks for your tenacity. You're keeping it current and getting us through the past that should have already been done. And thank you, Chris.
I just had a question. They were talking about internal controls and how the bookkeeper opens the checks, right? I was just wondering if you guys took any of those into consideration and changing, like, you know, having those separate.
Yeah, we talked about it. We just haven't formalized how we want to address it. We're gonna work on it in that manual, all of our procedures. But
Formal accounting administrative fraud procedures manual.
that's a formal accounting. Administrative and fraud procedures manual. Yeah, so we're gonna try to address all of their comments in that manual together. I would say that's probably, because the money does come in, it goes through one person and it does go to another person and then another person brings it positive. It does go through multiple hands, but the person doing the deposit isn't aware of any of the back end of it. I don't know, but yeah, we'll address it.
Okay, cool.
I think you also mentioned last time, right, it's also the size of our organization is because it's so small.
It's different because other places have a lot more staff and it's easier to divide the things up. So, I mean, I'm just sitting there, I can see what she's doing. I'm not worried about putting internal thought, but I understand having a procedure is a much more acceptable practice. In the department level.
And just to add to, our accountants and bookkeeper, they're not writing, they make up the checks, but then they're not signing those checks. And that's all done by the general manager. And all of the cash transactions and the check transactions coming in for billing, they go under like different sets of eyes. So it's not just one person having access to that information.
All right. Any other board members got comments, questions? Okay, we'll go to public comment. Any public comment on this? No, crickets. So, we can do a motion on the second reading. We don't need to do a third reading, correct? Okay, let's get a motion on.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Do it.
I know you just got off vacation.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the district year-end financial statements for 2021 and 2022.
I will second that motion.
Roll call.
Trustee Shank?
Aye.
Des Bonheim? Absent. Jeff Ilgris?
Aye.
Mike Mallory?
Aye.
Kristen Sanders?
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, action item number 2. Review draft 2026-27 resort improvement district budget and annual fee schedule first reading. Chris?
Yes, so the attached draft 2026-27 budget and annual fee schedule were prepared using updated budget development guidelines and includes recommendations from staff and the budget advisory committee. I think we had about 5 meetings. Comments and suggestions made at today's meeting will be considered for incorporation in the final budget, which we hope to present at the board for adoption at the June regular board meeting. So I'm going to go ahead and share this screen and do a little PowerPoint. Just to reiterate, this budget is exactly what the budget advisory committee and all department staff agreed upon. This was considered complete, but I did want to do my homework, and just in case there were any questions about how can we make the budget line item deficit lower, because it is a total budget deficit of over $1 million. I think it's $1.2 million. Yeah, so what can we do so we're not going to be impacting reserves so dramatically? So let me go ahead and share. Do slideshow. Okay, it's kind of small on the screen there. I don't know if you can see, but you can follow along on the pages too. So what the proposed budget includes, as I said, all recommendations by staff as reviewed by the Budget Advisory Committee. What it does not include are wage increases beyond applicable step increases, and that's also because of our MOU with the IBW ends in June 30, 2026, and we don't have an agreement in place to budget for any applicable wage increases. It also does not include additional revenue if Measure A passes. We're not counting on it to pass, being conservative, and budgeting as if it does not pass. We're hoping it passes. And it does not include any change of health insurance costs. So we just switched health insurance providers. That we're in the open enrollment period right now, so we don't know where we're going to end up until probably about a month or 2 from now. So we don't know if it's going to be less or equal to what our current health insurance costs. So the budget from here factors in current insurance costs. And it does not also, I added this in, it does not include any grant income or expense line items, which theoretically should equal each other and cancel each other out. So it does not include any of that. And so here's kind of the bottom line. Total income, just over 4 million. Total expense, just over 5 million. So you can see that's a deficit of over 1 million. How that's broken down, you have the operational income, which does not include capital expenses or income, or capital income, does not include grant income. Operational income, 3.8 million, operational expense, 4.7, so there's a deficit of 940 right there. Proposed budget for capital income, and that's about 288,000. Capital expense, we have 531,000, so there's an additional deficit, 240,000 for those capital expenses. And here's how it's broken down in a pie chart. You can see miscellaneous income, which is a lot of like tower rental and golf course green fees, that kind of thing. Taxes income and the utility payment, which is revenue from rates. And then there's the capital income, which is mainly the measure A. So you can see that's how the total income is broken down. Primarily, it's 52% utility payments. And here's how the expenses are broken down. You can see the labor expenses takes the larger portion of that pie, about 56% at 2.9 million. 4,000 in board expenses, which is just training and travel for board training and travel. And then general admin expenses, 219,000, maintenance and ops 1.5. You can see how that's broken down. So primarily our budget is in labor with maintenance operations like that. Here's what would happen if Measure A passes. We anticipate 230,000 additional in revenue to bring our total revenue over from 4 million to 4.3 million. So this would add about 6% to the proposed budget income. So you can see it's not huge, but I know it's huge for the individual registered voters. So we know we're asking for a lot, but as you can see in our budget, it is kind of a drop in the bucket. And this is how it's broken down in our budget. You can see the way the Measure A works is 62.5% goes to operations of the infrastructure, whereas 62.5% goes to the capital infrastructure improvements, and the rest goes to operations. And that's how that's broken down momentarily in this slide. Also, as I said, the budget does not include any potential wage increase, which the last 3 years there have been wage increases percentage every year. The first year of the previous MOU was 3%, so that's why I decided, let's say what would happen if a hypothetical 3% general wage increase. It adds about $60,000 to the labor expense, as you can see in this, and you can see how it's broken down here. So it increases the expenses by about 60,000, and that would bring the overall deficit from 1.2 million to just not a very big difference right there. You can see it broken down. So let's look at hypothetical budget cuts, because that's a pretty big number in the red, right? What can we cut to reduce that number in the red? Proposed budget has a capital expense deficit of $243,200. Here's some expense items I thought we could defer. Of course, that is kind of the story of the district last 10 plus years, is deferring capital expenses. But here I am proposing more, unfortunately. This was not recommended by the Budget Advisory Committee or staff, but this is what I'm putting in here. Another work truck. SCADA system improvements is for the wastewater treatment plant, not the water side. I still have, I think, 30,000 in the budget for the water side. And generator radiator replacement. We did one of the 2 generators that we need to have new radiators on this fiscal year. We're budgeting for the other one this year. But I thought we could put that off for another year, but I know staff will have something to say about that too. So this would, the proposed budget with these cuts would now have a capital expense deficit of only 52,200. So it takes that down. There's still a deficit. So. Labor expenses, on this side, the proposed budget has 2 vacant positions in departments in the red. That's Parks and Water departments, totaling over $213,000. I thought, well, we're going to maintain. We want to fill the distribution and repair operator position in the water department. However, the general labor position in Parks, which is currently vacant, what if we made that a part-time position? And you could see the savings that would do if we did that as a part-time position at about 999 hours per year versus 2,080 hours per year. saves almost $75,000 from the labor budget. It might impact services on such things as mowing the golf course, however, so that's something to keep in mind. I also looked at different line items that could be cut, and I proposed a 25% cut to all of these line items you can see listed. And if we did a 25% cut, it reduces those line items by $81,050. So it's a hard cut, but that does save money in the budget. And you can see here the proposed hypothetical budget cuts broken down by category, and percentage shows the percentage change. And overall, it's a 10% reduction in that deficit of the budget. So it brings it down, the proposed deficit from $1,184,073 to $677,011. So a cut of $500,000 from this proposed budget. But we're still in the red by almost $700,000. As requested, I added a couple of extra slides here to remind the public and the board that even though the budget says we're 1,184,000 plus in the red, we don't usually end up that way. And this if you look at this graph, and I'll have a graph of it too, a chart. So we've only had one budget on this list that has been in the black, and that was the 2015-16 budget. Ever since then, we've been in the red at varying levels. And you can see that in the budget net income column. So that's where we figured we'd be. That's the total budget. But where we actually ended up at the end of the fiscal year, the end of the fourth quarter, is on this column, actual net income. You can see actually only one of those years did we end up worse than we thought we were going to end up in, and that was in 22, 23. Every other year we were not as bad as we anticipated, averaging around only $40,000 in the red. Of course, that incorporates deferring maintenance, deferring capital expenses. So that's how we end up not as bad as we think we're going to be. We think where we think we're going to be is where we actually need to be. So the problem is we just don't have the income that we used to have to cover that. So that's what we're working on, different sources of income, including grants, including Measure A. We don't want to say rate increases just yet, but rate increases are inevitable at some point to keep the cost of providing services at our current level. So graphics-wise, you can see, the purple line on this chart shows our budgeted net income. It's been decreasing ever since 2015-16, but the green line is our actual net income. And my hypothesis here is eventually the green line will meet up with the purple line, and that's where we'll be. But so we've been kind of deferring things, buying time, and that's where we're ended up. But that's the end of the slideshow and end of my budget presentation. So does anyone, I'm sure there's some questions. So,
yeah, I've got some questions.
Yeah.
I'm no accountant, but seeing numbers like this, yeah, they end up working themselves out in the end. But I think if we are going to the public and asking for Measure A tax increase, we need to be better at being fiscally responsible with our money. And I think as opposed to wants for purchases, I think it needs to be a need for purchases. And maybe if we pull all of the items out of the budget that are wants and needs, and then require the superintendents to give justifications for the board to make those decisions, so we can see the path we are headed on. I think the board needs to be more active in the budgeting process of the district, just until we can get out of this mess and head in the right direction. But that's just me. I'm no accountant, and I'm no numbers giving headaches. So, but I would really like to hear from the rest of the board and get some dialogue and some feedback and some talking about this topic.
I also, before we go on too, I just wanted to mention, I didn't talk about the annual fee schedule. There were some changes made in that too. We can discuss after maybe the budget talk. Yeah, the sports board maybe for renting that out, but I'm kind of on the fence about that one myself.
Yeah, I don't think that's really going to make a dent in our budget. And I totally agree with Mike. Like, having just stepped into the board, I feel like I was on the budget committee with Tesha, and it was a little bit, it was like there were requests and I just didn't know why, and that was one of the things. It was like, and I was even telling this to Chris, like even about like the water treatment. Like I was like, I just need to like see like why this is what we need to do, because it's really hard when you don't have any, backstory on it. And it just feels like, yeah, having this budget, like I feel from here on out, like I feel responsible for what we're actually approving. And it's a difficult position to be in. And so, yeah, that's where it is. Like, I need to know like the story. And that's one thing I will give like Nick credit, is I feel like I always feel updated and in the know when he tells me something, or, even at these board meetings. So it was just like more communication like that. I also think we need to like somehow come up with like more revenues, and like I'm gonna say it again, the car charger. We had a meeting with John and I felt like there was just like no buy-in. Like I was just like, we have the three-phase power down at the old sewer site, and it's a way that if we could get it built, you know, we could be charging people that drive into Shelter Cove that have electric cars. And that's myself included. Like, I drive an electric car. If I wanted to go to town and I didn't like remember to plug in my car, I could drive down there and have it done in a half hour. And it's just like thinking of like different ways to like, increase the revenue. Because one thing I'm also concerned about is if we keep raising rates, at some point it's going to get cheaper to put power or to get solar panels on the roof of your house. And then we lose a customer forever. So these are my concerns. And just, yeah, it's a lot to deal with. I'm also concerned about, yeah, like labor expenses. Like, when does this really actually like affect? I mean, it's weird. I feel like we're talking about something that doesn't really, you say like, oh, it's going to even out, and we don't always end up there. But it's really, we need to start thinking of other ways to like create revenue. And that's why I was really kind of disappointed with like the response I've gotten to, can we put a charger and at least create like some revenue for Shelter Cove that doesn't involve like raising our rates? And it just didn't feel like I had much buy-in. So that's just my opinion. But yeah, this is a lot to take on. And I'm glad you came up with those cuts, because I think that's like the only thing that we have to do something, and it's going to be painful, but like maybe that will also get more people in the community involved in, having an understanding of what, the RID is facing.
Well, also one thing to keep in mind about the cuts is, the price will just go up later on, right? So, like for instance, the SCADA costs or the generator radiator replacements or the work truck, they will be more expensive down the line than they are now, potentially, most likely.
Yeah, but even like with the SCADA thing, like I don't even understand like what we talked about it, and it was so confusing because we were talking about like how it's a radio transmission, and like the trees grow 20 feet, so it like is going to be not working like a year later again. I guess I just am like, what's the actual thing that's going to solve? I don't even understand what the problem is, but like from what I've gotten from the SCADA so far is it's actually not going to solve the problem, because the trees are going to keep going. And that's why I was like, why can't we put them on the power poles? They're always like, but I guess there has to be a line of sight between the different tanks. So that's like also frustrating to me too. It's like, okay, you want the SCADA, but it doesn't sound like it's actually going to work a year later. Like, and I don't even know what, right? I mean, that's what I got from the meeting. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit like heated just because like this is a lot to take on, and and I'm also just like, what's going to actually solve the problem? Because that's what I got, was that it's a line of sight. And so it's like, what is actually going to solve it? What's going to work? Like, and then also the trucks and everything. Like, I don't know. I know everything is going to be more expensive, but like this, running a business is different than running a government. And I do get that. But like, when our business needs a new truck, if we don't have the money in the bank, we don't get a new truck. and it's really hard on the employees and it's difficult for everyone, but we figure it out, and yeah, and then you save for the truck for the next year. So, I mean, I get what you're saying. It's going to be more expensive, but also it just is what it is, we can't just buy things that we can't technically afford right now. Or I don't know, maybe we can, but I need an explanation of why and how it's going to save us money. And, because I have to go talk to the community. And when things are getting more and more red, I feel like the next 4 years, like I'm going to be here and I'm going to have to be the one that actually like is saying yes to these budgets. And so it's difficult. Like for me, if I don't have a good reason.
Yeah. Regarding the SCADA comments, I think that might just be maintenance, keep the trees down perhaps, or I know there's also technology we've been looking into to convert the radio line of sight to more of a cell phone tower communication transmission, or even a internet-based like Starlink transmission. So I think that's something we've been
Well, I'm going to hear
Comment
that.
on the SCADA also for the wastewater treatment plant.
Okay.
For the wastewater treatment plant, the line of sight's not an issue because we don't have trees around it. So that's not an issue for wastewater treatment plant. It's more for not necessarily even the water treatment itself, but all tanks and everything extended from it. So wastewater treatment plant, line of sight is not an issue. Radio problems aren't an issue. Once it's implemented, I don't foresee a radio or line of sight problem there because we don't have any kind of topography or issues. The cost savings within the wastewater treatment plant could be massive with the electrical usage with the rotors. So we just got a study back, and I think it's approximately, I have to confirm this. I want to look at the data, talk it over to Chris, make sure that it all lines up. But I'm seeing approximately, I think around $34,000 a month coming out of the wastewater treatment plant. Right now, the rotors are running nonstop, full speed, and if we have SCADA, and that's literally the biggest electrical usage within the whole district, our rotors within the box ditches, how much power they have to use to make everything move, DO. So as the DO levels drop, with influent coming in, these rotors and SCADA will control, ramp down the VFDs, voltage frequency drives, basically slowing down the motors, not pulling as much electricity. I could see potentially maybe 20 to 50% cost. I'm not sure. I want to look at the numbers, but it's massive.
But then, okay, I think that's great. But the SCADA I'm talking about is the water plant, or not the water tanks or something. And that's what the 85,000 was budgeted for? No, that's for you.
That's for wastewater. And the water side is more the issue. But the 30,000, that's we might be able to turn on John well and Jack well. Right now, we can't remotely turn on the wells. Or SCADA is literally a remote access point, and we don't even have access points to them. So we're just trying to be able to turn on the wells. The line of sight and radio is a whole nother issue.
Yeah.
That's separate from the SCADA implementation.
Well, that's like the confusing thing is like, and I mean, I'm trying to like take it in like over the year, but I still don't exactly understand like what the problem is. I mean, it sounds like from the sewer plant that it could really benefit from having that investment in it.
Right.
So I'm not sure how far in we are, and I mean.
Yeah, Matthew Herman said from a regulatory standpoint, we wouldn't have to be there, have weekends either. So that would be 2 days a week, overtime staff. Process control for chemicals, also for dosing. Right now, I think we got back from the state that we can't even use reclaimed water unless we get SCADA or wastewater treatment.
Yeah, I'll do some monitoring.
We're so in the past, they're like, you guys don't even have this ability, like it's a requirement now for operational, just to be able to operate. But on the water side, it's definitely an issue. On the radio side, it's not going to go away. But we'll deal with it however, and we could run it hand, until that time.
So then these are two separate systems.
Yes.
Yeah. And so so this 85,000, would that be split between the two, or is that mostly for the treatment plant or?
Specifically for the wastewater.
Well, yeah, okay, well, that's kind of too bad because it sounds like that would have been more, that would have actually like benefited us. That's what it's confusing is like we have this SCADA system and I don't obviously know that much about it, but it seems like somehow it's just never working. And so it's kind of like this creeper line item that comes up all the time and it's like 45. And even when I first joined the board, I think we had an option to pay like 300,000 or something, right? To get it done. And we did not do that because it was a lot of money or, the board, we decided to go with the cheaper option that was supposed to get it done and it's not done. So now here it is like reappearing. So I don't mean to get frustrated with you and so I appreciate what you're doing, but it's just like hard to know what my decision should be, and where to like, the pull and tug but yeah.
I've been listening about SCADA for 3.5 years now,
Yeah.
and it's a complete nightmare.
Yeah.
It's a money pit.
Mm.
I can't believe other people are using it successfully, and we can't manage to get it together. And then last time, that one contract was, oh, well, we can do it, we can fix it, we can get it done, and it's still not working. So it seems to be this money pit. And it looks like we have no other options but to get this thing working, but we're gonna have to find some type of a cheaper solution to get this thing done and online, because it's costing us a fortune.
We definitely recommended that, try to fight for what happened when staff internally did what they did. Rick and I really did try to stop it.
I was here.
But it happened, so
Yeah.
that's where we're at now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On the bright side, right here is that the hardware is state of the art. We have really good SCADA system hardware, the SCADA pads, the radios, the antennas. It's just the way they communicate is not functioning properly.
I just want to make one comment. We do have a policy for projects. So we enforce that policy that staff fills out the project descriptions and then you guys have an actual writing. I'm not a water guy, I'm not a power guy. I can speak fire all day long, but if I'm trying to speak to that, I like it in writing, and we have that now. So that started late last year before the new budgets come out. Any purchases that get approved, even if it's on the budget, Chris still has to approve it, and then that would trigger that policy over a certain amount. And then you guys would get a full description and write of each one of those projects.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
So Tristan and I were both on the budget committee, and when we were going line item by line item, I've been within the district for quite a while now, and just seeing us defer maintenance for well over a decade. We go back to the 2015-16 budget when we were in the black. However, part of what made us in the black at that time was that the general manager at that time did away with the public works director. And also we had some issues with our intake pond at Telegraph Creek. And so he got us out of some regulatory issues and fines that we were paying on. So that helped bring that budget into the black at that time. I feel like we're going to be nickeling and diming ourselves, but I understand that we do need to be and show the community that we're doing our best to lower costs on everything. I just want to thank you, Chris. I think you did a really good job on these options, and we'll probably be looking at these. I would like another meeting with the budget committee moving forward to see how we can implement these options. One thing that I would like to say, I like the 25% operational cut. It's pretty drastic, but I do like that. With the SCADA, I could see the work trucks. We're going to have to maybe reevaluate those. With the SCADA system, I really think that we need to keep going on that and make sure that we get it finished. It has been an ongoing issue for the district. But again, current staff and the current general manager and board, we were pulling ourselves out of a mess with that SCADA. And so it's not like we were able to start from scratch. Well, we paid to have the SCADA done. It was done internally by people who were not up to par on that. They made their own I can't say the word, telecommunication side of lines for communications, and they weren't accurate. And so that's why we're having a lot of issues with them, particularly in the water department. We need to finish that so we're not paying so much in overtime. We're wasting a lot, not wasting, but it's the overtime amount of staff overtime in the water department is definitely over the top with overtime. So if we get that fixed, then we're able to lower the cost from a labor standpoint. And also it gives our water department their weekends back. They can actually start taking longer breaks. Because right now, it's my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Travis, but basically you and Frank don't really have days off consecutively, correct?
We're 6 days a week, honestly, since I started.
And
This
it's
weekend
been,
coming up will be 7.
and you've been working how long? I'm sorry, for the district?
7 years.
Yeah.
7 years.
So that, I mean, you look at all that overtime, and that will be saving us money. And I know it is a large line item, but I wouldn't feel comfortable deferring the SCADA system. And especially even though we could probably wait a little bit on the wastewater, for the wastewater department, but again, like you said, it could be that it would save us up to $30,000 a month on that.
No, like a 10%, 20%
10%, okay.
from the 30,000 a month.
And then it would also allow us to start the process of being able to use our reclaimed water for the golf links, which we also spent a lot of money on that. And, so it's just part of that process.
Also lower our chemical costs because they don't just be constantly dosing. Everything would be in control of what's coming in, all will go up and down.
And I mean, this could be done. That's like I mean, this all sounds amazing to me. That's what I'm just like, okay, then let's see whatever, a bid, something that says like, this is what would happen. This is like a cost benefit, or like, like, hey, this is how much it is to install. This is, why, and this is what we are saving. Like, because everything you're saying, yes, like, yeah, I can't believe you're working 6 days for 7 years. That's pretty amazing. And we don't want you to burn out long term. But yeah, but like,
Let's get that in writing.
let's get it done. Yeah, I mean, that totally makes sense to me. See, at the meeting, I was like, I guess the water tank one was the one that kept coming up. And so this is where it's confusing. And maybe like also I need to work on, finding out what the projects are, but then also like I will say as a board member, it's like, this is not like my full-time job coming here. And I'll say that to like everyone, like, sorry, I keep looking at you, but it's like, I need you guys to fill me in. Otherwise, like, I'm coming here and I don't know. And also it's intimidating to people who want to join the board. If all of a sudden all of this is just like thrown on your plate, and like, it's okay for me, but like I can see now why maybe there's like the turnover, and also why there weren't like a bunch of people that wanted to run. And no offense to you at all, but I guess this is just something we're going to be like working out over the next, few years. But yeah, just like let me know, like, because honestly, that sounds a really good. It sounds like that's what we need to do, is like have these things working on their own and not be monitored by you and Frank all the time, because it should just go.
In reality, we're not there, and we're doing water distribution, parks and rec,
Yeah.
and like our disk drive. We've had 5 disk drives breaking our back to disk drives because we can't see it.
Yeah.
If SCADA would help us, and not having the staff we're pretty much running solo, and that is like a staff member almost.
Oh,
We
totally.
rely on it all the time. It really does help. But I understand too, costs of it.
Yeah, but like also like, I mean, if it seemed like a thing that we could actually get done, I feel like we could and have it running, like up and running, then I mean, I think that is a good investment because sometimes you do have to, spend money.
And again, reiterating what Nick said, I think it would really be beneficial for the board, now that we have that work project policy, to have all of that information in writing and presented to the board, instead of just like we're hearing it at the board meetings, or like we're hearing it in our committee meeting, but it's still like we have so much other things that also that we're looking at that time, that it's a lot of information that's hard to retain. And if it's in writing, then there it is, it's black and white, the pros, the cons. And that's really what the superintendents, I know you guys don't have a lot of time on your hands, but it really is necessary for the board so that we can feel good about approving these types of large expenses.
And that was one of the cool things. So we're going to meet with this consultant, Hillary, next weekend. And I really enjoyed talking to him I was talking to him about a lot of this stuff. And he was saying like, we're going to work on a strategic plan, like, so that, then we know why we're doing these expenses as they come up. And that was one of the things I was just telling him about, a lot of the stuff that I feel like we are having to deal with. And he was like, oh, well, that should be part of the strategic plan. And so then there's this like continuality. So when new board members come, then they can just look at the strategic plan and kind of be like, oh, okay, this is why we're doing this, and not just like, so it feels like there's a plan, and that was, that's the reason it's coming up now, and da 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 da. And anyways, I just am really excited to like, for next week, and I think that's going to help a lot with these budget meetings. It's like, where are we going, and budgeting for where we are going. Yeah.
So I got a little bit to say on this. One, I think the radiator for the generator plant is a must-have. It's a need, not a want. We rely on that generator a lot, and the town appreciates it. And I think that minor expense is worth it. Throwing money down what I call the SCADA hole, I would be opposed to it unless we had guarantees. I want guarantees for that kind of money to be spent on that. We've thrown 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, and we're not getting anything out of it. So I would like to see some type of guarantee for that kind of money. I don't know what you guys feel about that, but
I agree.
I'm
Yeah.
very negative about SCADA because I just keep seeing money go out the door and it's still not functioning. So, and we're still paying all this labor to monitor all these systems, and it's ridiculous, to be honest with you. But it's something we must have apparently, but we need a guarantee.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of curious on, if it's something that we're supposed to have, how is that not a need then?
It isn't.
It is a need, but yet you're saying you're opposed to.
I would be opposed to throwing money at something. I would be opposed to throwing money at something without any type of guarantee. Because otherwise it's still not going to function. It's a requirement, but it's still not going to function, and we're just throwing money at it. It's still continuing. So even if we got to spend more than that, give me a guarantee.
Yeah, and I'm on the same page with you on that. And I think that really, when we did approve this last, the last contract with the new SCADA person, I forget what the names are, but we did go with the lowest bid, and I feel like the other higher bids did include more, and I think we would have been further along had we gone with those higher bids. We just didn't really understand what we were looking at, I think. And so that's why getting everything written out and the pros and cons to the options is important. But you're saying that probably this 85,000, the 85,000 in your best determination, it would be that would work for the wastewater.
I need to confirm with David, and then, like you guys said, get guarantee that it will be finished. But under my impression of what the quote is and what it entails, yes, I think the wastewater treatment plant will be finished then. For the water treatment plant side, This last bid, it was literally to move the master slave, SCADA, from the community center down to the wastewater, which you did. So, you know, those, the 40,000 is in SCADA talk, expenses, it's $300,000 to $500,000 in the system. So, what David's been doing and has done is actually a lot and very inexpensive. Also, he had worked on the electrical side of yours here too. So I don't know if that was taken in part in his time, but he had finished a lot of stuff over on that side too. But yeah, I mean, Cal Poly had recommended $80,000 a year just to maintain a SCADA system, a working SCADA system. You have an on-site engineer. So we lost our industrial electrician. We don't have an expert. Now we're trying to figure it out. So that's where we're at. But yes, I do think the wastewater treatment plant would be finalized, and I agree with you guys. I don't want to keep piecing this on either. You know, I'd like to come in and have it just finalized too. But I think the sticker shock's going to be pretty big.
I'm wondering if we could get a report on the SCADA system for the next meeting that breaks everything down for us again. And then like, and when you reach back out to your consultant, that try to get as close to a hard number as possible to like see what it's going to be to get the SCADA finished. So even if it's a higher amount that we're very confident that amount is going to work. And then also in that report, letting the board know, like, what is it going to take to keep this going operationally on a yearly basis? I think that would be very helpful.
No, go ahead.
Kind of getting away from the SCADA topic, I am wondering if it would benefit us as a board, since none of us are accountants on this board, as far as, oh, no, you are.
Sorry, but I have a degree, but I am
You're
not
not
at all an accountant, and so they are amazing.
We're doing our, but we are all doing our best. I'm wondering, as far as I know, we've never had a third party look at our budget. And I'm wondering if this is something that maybe with Hillary's vast experience in public works, for I think he has like 30 years of experience and budgeting, and I don't know, maybe we could reach out to him and see how much it would cost for him just to review our budget, possibly, just to see if and get like some feedback from somebody outside that could give us, who also deals with these types of budget constraints, to see what they might recommend as well in cutting.
I said we were going to work on that at that
Yeah.
seminar.
He did say that?
Yeah. And I mean, and that's like the thing is like Shelter Cove's also special in that, like, even if he does look at these are like the things that are our bills and are the things that we need to do. And it's just unfortunate we have such like a small pool of resources or, clients, customers that we can pull from. Because I was even talking about like operations wise, and he was like, yeah, no, it's like pretty in line, but like his budget is like $30 million. And so it's like really funny how like, I mean, we could be staffed a little bit more for sure, but like, yeah, we're like basic. And then, most places would have like way higher revenues and we just don't. So it's like always going to be this like struggle. Hopefully not forever. We're going to come up with something really good, you guys. But yeah.
So my question, because with my conversation with him, he said he hadn't even looked at our budget yet. So for clarification, he is going to be looking at the budget, and we'll be going over that.
Yeah.
Okay. So then that feels better.
I can even bring a copy
Yeah.
and a magnifying glass.
Yeah.
So I guess I would like some direction from the board to know, what do you want us to do with the budget?
I mean, I would like to see some type of mandatory cuts for one, possibly hiring freeze. possibly, no unnecessary purchases, unless there's an immediate need personally. Um, we need to at least make a conscious effort to do what we can to make the cuts necessary to show the public we're doing everything what we can do till it hurts, because we're asking them for money.
I want to make one point too, is, say we cut all these things, if they become necessary, we can always come back to the board. for
Absolutely,
budgeted expense.
absolutely. And then the board has a little bit better control on high dollar items. And then they're aware of what they're spending when they're spending it. It's better board oversight in these tough financial times we're in. And I think it'd be good for us to do that and maybe back a lot of those things out of those budget lines, make those numbers look a little bit better, and just get the board to be a little bit more fiscally responsible on our spending. And talking to superintendents about making some cuts. There's got to be some cuts somewhere that people can make to cut back a few bucks. Every little bit helps. Let's just tighten the belt and see. I mean, someone keeps stealing all the pens out of the office, and find that guy. But anyway, that's what I would like to see happen. Jeff, I haven't heard much from you down there, buddy.
I've just been waiting to hear everyone's comments. First of all, the skate is the love that just keeps on giving. Since I've been on this board, it's always an issue. I think we have to be proactive. I think we need it, especially in the water treatment. But all we are is throwing money at it, and so back to that line of sight, whatever. I mean, that's just, to me, it doesn't seem as important as the water treatment plant, especially if it can save us money. I think that we also have to look at the hard facts that whether we like it or not, we're waiting for the property measure A, whatever, to pass, and maybe it will, maybe it won't. But we need to talk about rates. One of the things that is more concerning to me than anything is diesel's $8 a gallon. I don't know what the discount we get for buying bulk, but the moment we start losing power, we're gonna have a huge cost again. So this budget doesn't reflect today's current conditions on just fuel, not let alone labor and everything else. I don't think that we have a choice, especially as a fiscal responsible board, than demand even more cuts. I mean, even with all the cuts that you're suggesting, we're still almost 700 grand in the red. So that's irresponsible. This is not monopoly. This is not monopoly money. This is taxpayers' money that we need to be frugal with. And so back to, yes, the truck could cost more later on, but that's reality. That when it costs more later on, then we have to suck it up and pay for it because we don't have the money now. And then back to other forms of revenue. I mean, right now, the big thing of Shelter Cove or Southern Humboldt or Humboldt period is Kool-Aid. It's tourism. So if that's the new way to bring in money, then we need to start really putting some energy and effort into tourism, into ecotourism, and bringing in more money. We could rent out places for wedding venues. There's other things that we could do and think outside the box. And we really need to start focusing on revenue. Because if you really look at electrical, it's an obsolete business model. Pretty soon you're going to drive your car, it's going to get full of energy, you're going to bring it into your house, you're going to plug it in, it's going to run your house. So if we're not more proactive, we're just asking for more problems down the road. So I think that we have to take the hard line. I think that we need to get in motion of the rate increase. I think that no one wants to do it. I don't even want to hear myself say it. But I also realize that I'm paying $8 a gallon for diesel. We have diesel plants. We have no choice but to do the generators. There's not a question in my mind. I don't think there's a question in my mind about SCADA. I just think it's the love that keeps on giving, and let's put this baby to bed. Let's get her done, right? And again, we can't balance our budget on maybe if we are possible, maybe we'll get lucky and have a grant, right? The grants that we're not even applying for, right? And then I'd like to, on the other side, the mention of this overtime thing. How much is overtime? I want to know. I want a line item So but back to that SCADA system, right? How much from the concept is RID paid for that SCADA system that's always a problem child? What's that overall figure? And then we're still asking for more of maybe it's going to be done someday. I mean, we need hard numbers, hard facts. And again, we also have a union contract coming up and nothing goes down. And it's not applied in the budget, so really we need to have this conversation again because you said June 30th. At least we're going to have a hard number. I mean, we as a board, this is our fault. This is the board of the present and the past fault that we're where we are. But we also have to be real. So tough decisions has to be made, whether we like them or not. And personally, I don't like any of them. But that's not why we're put on this board, was to make tough decisions, or we shouldn't be on this board.
Thank you for your input, Jeff. I appreciate that. Anybody else?
Well, I have a feeling too that one of the things we're going to be hearing at our strategic plan workshop too, though, is, and just like going back to the ecotourism part, is we will, and the EV chargers, we will be having to look for grants for a lot of these things, but we will be having to spend money to make money, and we have to figure out where that, and that's with the SCADA, that's with the water treatment plant.
Right.
Or not the water treatment plant, sorry, but with the reclaimed water. Operationally, when we were going line item by line item operationally, I don't see that we're going to be able to cut a lot out of there. The capital expenses, I guess we can defer some more, except for with the SCADA, I wouldn't recommend that. But I'm willing, as the budget committee, to meet with Chris again and staff and go over again and make sure that we're cutting as much as we can.
I also think that, excuse me, after the meeting next Friday and Saturday, he represents and been in the business for all his adult life. He's into it, and he's a really nice guy. But his budget may be bigger, but he works with smaller municipalities and special districts like us. So he's aware of our situation. I think that in order to really have an important discussion about strategic planning, he has to know the budget. So I think that we are going to get help as far as budget because it's a strategic plan meeting. So I think that I look forward to the next board meeting after this weekend, because I think we're going to know a lot more than we do today.
Yeah. So when we had the agenda setting meeting and I went over this and I said, we're looking at the budget, and I just said, well, why aren't we talking about cuts? This is when we brought it up. I went, okay. So I got on my soapbox, started ranting and raving about cuts. We need to find things that we can cut. We have to be fiscally responsible. We have to. Like I said before, since we have our hand out to the community, we've got to find some type of cuts. So, Chris, thank you for your homework and what you came up with. I really appreciate that. It gives us options. I'd like some more feedback from our superintendent. John, your numbers don't look as bad as everybody else's, so I'll commend you for that. But Travis, your numbers are a mess, but you also have a lot of work to do. I mean, that's a big job. You have a lot on your plate. I get that. And you're overworked. I get that too. But we're a small district. I think we can all work together and find some solutions to our problems. And then hopefully if Measure 8 passes, that's great. It's not going to be our saving grace to get us out of the hole, but it's a step in the right direction. And then if we can make a few cuts, and then hopefully by the end of the year, things start to work itself out, I think we're not going to be as bad off as we look, but we have to do everything that we can do to be as fiscally responsible as we can to keep this district moving forward.
I have to also, I think Measure A, I think it's so important because if nothing else, it gives us some more money for in-kind on the grants. Is everyone on that staff board coming to this meeting on Friday and Saturday?
Next week, yes.
Yes. I mean, we're talking John, Travis, everybody. You too, Nick? Okay, so I think it's gonna be very informative. I think that it's probably the best thing that we could be doing concerning this conversation that we're having, to have what we're gonna go through next weekend. Not looking forward to taking up my Saturday or my Friday, but I look forward to having a nice meal with John and Travis. I'm just telling you.
So for direction from the board, I'm wondering, so we should be looking at a hard freeze on vehicles?
I would like to ask our staff to supply us with some cuts that they can make without kicking the can too far down the road, to help us make these decisions. They know the stuff better than I do. I've talked to employees of the district as well, and asked them, hey, what kind of cuts can we make? And they just look at me like, oh my God, what are you talking about? But I think they're out there. We can squeeze that belt a little bit, and we need some solutions. I would like the staff to come up with ideas. And look at possibly 20%, because I think that will help us. Because really, I mean, if our budget ends up where it is today in the end of the year, we're going to be looking at furloughs. We're going to be looking at some serious cuts, serious problems in the future. So if we start now, I think it won't hurt as bad. So
it's gonna hurt no matter what.
it is going to hurt,
But I think that that's just being proactive. I mean,
Exactly.
again, you gotta get ahead of it. And like I said, there's this one thing that isn't even addressed, and it's called the current shape of our current economy. And we're affected even more than that because of where we are.
I mean, other municipalities have increased their rates over 50% in the last few years. We have not. We raised a little bit here and there, which was a mistake, but our rates are not nearly as high as everybody else, despite what people think or say.
I don't think we have a choice.
And I would rather not raise rates until we have done everything that we possibly can do to trim the fat. Then we move forward with that. If Measure A doesn't pass, a rate increase is inevitable. I put that out to the public; they're aware of it. I don't see how people can vote no on Measure A and have a basic knowledge of math. So, but I mean, I'm hoping it passes. If it doesn't, I mean, we have to assume it's not with the budget and move forward from there. But I think if we start working on some cuts, I think we can get there. I really do. But yeah, if it is a must-have, I mean, it's a must-have. I hate it. I hate that.
But I
That
think
word and everything.
back to being proactive. I don't recall the format, but just for the rate increase alone, it's a longer window, right?
Yeah.
So to get that process going, right? I think we got to start that now, whether we implement anything.
That would be a mistake.
I don't know.
I do.
Well,
That'd be a huge mistake. What's that?
The coffee turned off.
Yeah, so under Prop 218 requirements, we would have to do a rate study, which would tell us where we fit in line with other neighboring municipalities.
I think we need to
regarding
do that.
rates. It's a cost. We would have to do a rate study before doing any kind of proposal for rate.
I think that needs to be implemented.
And I'm just going to say I'm going to disagree, just because the more we increase our rates, the more we're going to drive people away from using electricity. Just in my opinion, the higher you make the cost of something, the less people use it. And right now, and it also makes people move out of the area. We don't have that many jobs here. Like that's why I'm saying we need to figure out ways to assist the community. That's why I'm going to say it again, the charging thing, or the car charger. Like, we need to figure out how to assist the community so that businesses can actually prosper and more people will start businesses that will hire people. And that's just how communities are built, And so that's what I'm saying. I know it'll come up, but I'm just going to say no on the rate increases right now, because I don't think it's going to actually solve anything. Like our budget's going to just, yeah. Anyways, I just don't think it'll solve anything. And also maybe putting in like, okay, and I will say, sorry, Mike, you know what? We actually did not cut anything. And in hindsight, I'm actually really glad we didn't in a way, because I feel like this is a great conversation to have with like you guys. And sometimes when you are in like the room, and you're hearing what the supers want. And so I think it actually worked out well, because it brought, I actually felt pretty good about this budget. I feel like we gave money to everything, but it's also not possible. And now right? And now we're kind of like having an actual conversation instead of like Tesha and I making all the decisions about what should be cut and not. But
And I agree with that too. I mean, you were on the budget committee last year with Jeff, and it's kind of similar to that budget. However, again, even like I will be very interested to see where staff really feels that we can absolutely cut. Because I do feel like we're nickeling and diming ourselves, but I understand.
How long does it
Nickels and
take?
dimes make dollars.
How long does it take? to get a rate increase?
How long does it take to do what? A rate study? I don't know. I've never been through one. I know we did one back.
It's expensive.
yeah, it was
No, I
like
was just
70
curious
grand or
about the
something.
length of time.
I would say no more than months. But it
Oh,
was,
okay.
I think it was a $50,000 cost.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that rate study only required when we are increasing a cost, or is it also required if we were decreasing a cost?
That's a
As far
good
as I
question.
understand, only with increases.
Good question.
Yeah, because we did lower the third tier electric rate
Yeah.
last year in the capacity charge.
Yeah, and I did the research then.
Okay.
And
Good.
I mean, there's different laws with water. They have their own whole propositional set of rules. It's very long and complicated, and that's why hiring or having a person who does rate studies regularly is definitely the recommended option by anybody I've ever talked to.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna say, at a $50,000, what's the break even point? So maybe it's best not to raise them.
There's a RCAC does rate studies for water, and I think it's free, I don't know. At least reach out and ask them. There's a lady in Arcata that does it. She's doing all the points and a couple other ones right now. All the points, like.
See, that's the kind of
Yeah.
conversations I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Well, and water affects everybody, so I think that that's something that should be done. Travis, you could look into that. It's like you said, something we need to enact it, but I'd rather be proactive than reactive.
I'm glad we got this conversation going.
Yeah.
And we're understanding where we're at fiscally. And I'd be curious to see what everybody can come up with. Chris, you as well, too. Nick's always fine in his budget.
I know.
You guys.
Well, he has a task.
And,
I want to hear from Nick first. Get on it.
If we could though too, and I guess, yeah, we still have our work cut out for us with the budget committee.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate everybody's patience. So I guess the next topic would be the fee schedules that we still haven't.
Yeah, we have to talk about this.
Well, before we move to that, so we want to schedule another budget advisory committee meeting.
I would wait until after.
Yeah, after the strategic planning meeting.
Short meeting next week.
Yeah, and then maybe you could have a regroup with staff, just to.
Maybe after the election too.
Oh,
And then we'll have a real good idea
Yeah.
of what we're looking at.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
not a bad idea.
because of
That's
the-
coming up
yeah.
fast.
might as well just,
Yeah.
We do.
We're only talking a couple weeks.
We want to try to schedule a special board meeting for like another, just for the budget, so we can approve the budget in time.
Well, I think you're gonna have to.
Yeah, we'll have to do that.
You think we won't be able
probably
to get it done before the June meeting?
We would have to approve it and then we have to do 2 readings, right?
So this is.
This is the
technically
first reading.
reading.
This is the
This
first
is
reading.
technically the first reading, okay.
So we could technically, if the stars align, so to speak, approve it at the June meeting.
Yeah.
Which will be a public hearing.
Yeah, but I think that
We might not have all the union negotiations done yet. Am I allowed to ask about that? Like how that's going?
And I think
No.
that's
Okay. It won't be by June?
No.
I'm gonna say that
Then we
based
might
on
need a
what we've heard
special.
today, I don't know that we're gonna be ready.
Yeah.
Because it's just gonna be another hard fought conversation, and then I can see that, so I think we're gonna have to,
Do a special meeting.
in my opinion, I don't,
We'll keep the door open.
just leave it open.
Okay, so the fee schedule, this, we're including this with the budget because this is a requirement for, public hearing requirements. Any charges we require have to be reviewed with the budget. It's a good practice. Started doing that this last year, following through with it. The changes made in red, as you can see, I mirrored the playground proposal to the sports court. For instance, if the group wanted to rent out the sports court for an event, and those would be the same fees as the playground ones. And then also add in greens fees for the golf links, a possible tournament fee, and doing some more research on that. But those are the changes proposed. And in retrospect, I'm not sure if we're ready for the sports court section. So I'd probably defer that for another year. So in my mind, I would like to cut it back, all the sports court sections.
I agree with you on that. Have we publicly announced what the county said was the capacity of the sports court?
I don't know, but I did reach out via email, and it's 30 people is the max for the inside the court, inside the
Right,
fence.
okay.
Well, that's a fair amount, that's okay then.
Yeah.
And I agree, I think that this whole sports court thing, I mean, let's let the community enjoy it for a minute.
Yeah.
I'm probably the only one that disagrees, but I would like to see policies that reflect what the usage should be. But that also goes not just for the sports court, that's also the golf course and the playground, and actually get those in writing for clarification. Personally, I would like to see that. And then I would like a follow-up with the county and the FAA with the discrepancy of what the FAA put in with the permits, just to make sure that we are covered. And with the tournament fees for the golf links, I would like to see that more detailed. I think if it's as negotiated between event organizer and general manager, regardless of who is sitting in the general manager seat, I think that that's pretty vague, and there's just that potential. We're supposed to be treating people fairly, like equally. And so I think that should be spelled out clearly as to what the parameters are, so that organizations are treated equally and not just, not willy-nilly. I don't want to use that phrase, but just making sure that we're treating everybody fairly and equally. I don't think that's too much.
That's come up recently. There've been quite a few tournament requests as of late for the golf course. And basically, we're just saying, pay the green fees per person as normal.
In that last tournament, that tournament that they just did, which was very well attended, and I was there on site at one of the holes, and very good job. Kudos to Wendy Ball, and I think Julie Peacock also helped.
Mostly Wendy.
Mostly Wendy. And then I also just want to really thank staff. We kind of got raked over the coals a little bit before that tournament on the condition of the golf course. However, there was a lot of, really, you guys did an amazing job. And so it looked great. So I did want to just thank you guys for that. And, but I do think we need more concrete policy on how the tournaments are done, making sure that, people aren't getting too inebriated on the golf course and that kind of thing. And
we had insurance to cover that. I mean, that's the thing, is like, I get what you're saying, Tasha, but then also like, we can't put everything down all the time in words, because then you're starting to block. Yeah, it's like, we're trying to I guess I'm just thinking like the big picture. Okay, these tournament fees, this is really like nothing. We're spending a lot of time like talking about it. And I guess it just frustrates me sometimes when it's like, oh, we need to get this in writing. I'm like, I can't imagine like how little time these guys have to get stuff in writing. And it's like, we'll just see how it goes. And it went really well. I thought everyone had a great time. And, and then just going back to the FAA thing, it's like, we already talked to Michelle. We're going to post the occupancy sign. Like, let's just let it be done and move on. So that's just what I'm saying. It's like, we don't want to ask too much of the staff in a way too, you know?
And I do appreciate that
And I
perspective.
feel like they have figured things out. They always do. Like, yeah.
And I have to add that as long as they're paying the green fee, is it a public tournament? Is it a nonprofit tournament? Is it irrelevant? Yeah, they're paying the green fee. If I had 10 guys and I made a private tournament, okay, as long as everyone pays that green fees, what else can you do? It shouldn't be a special extra charge because it's a tournament.
Well, there's, for instance, the latest tournament and future tournaments have a proposal for like a rolling golf cart bar with an outside ABC license, and other golf courses have this function, and they take in a percentage of the alcohol sales in the golf course.
But I'm going to say, and I'm going to let you do your job. As a general manager, you're going to approve it just like you do the community clubhouse. I don't think I need to micromanage you.
Yeah, I guess that's what I was trying to say. Thank you, Jeff. It's like, yeah, we don't need to be micromanaging. And I do trust, I mean, say it was like a very wealthy organizer. Like, yeah, we should have some wiggle room for Chris to, negotiate.
And then again, there's your outside income source. But again, Chris, I don't know that job functions any more than you do on the community center. I don't, like I said, I think that you're doing a fantastic job. And thank you, much appreciated.
Yeah, and it's not my intention to get into the weeds. However, I will say policies set out a clear path forward, and it makes sure that everybody is treated equally. And in other places and districts, policies are not so, how should I say it, like so controversial. They're operational.
Okay, I guess if you would just say like, oh, you know what, and I guess maybe I'm just like thrown off because of just like how like this sports court, it's just like, okay, I would just like to see like a policy, just outlining that. That sounds totally legit to me. Yeah.
And then at some point, and maybe I can bring it up with staff later, is it would be interesting to explore the idea of seeing if we remove ourselves from the airport compatible use plan. We did pay to be put into that, but if there was a way for us to get us out of that, then all of this other stuff, it would free up other recreational properties too, without having to be so like, oh, can we do this? Can we do that? Because of the FAA. So that is something that I've been asking for a while, and I'm just kind of curious about that. Now, that's not necessarily, I'm only bringing that up because of the sports courts in that, but it is a possibility. It would take some work, but I think it would be beneficial for us to look into.
I'd like to hear Chris's opinion on it, as far as the policies and what Tasha's been talking about.
Well, I will look into the procedure of the ACLUP removal, what that means, what that would entail. I'll look into that. Regarding the sports court policy, the only guidance we really had was from our risk management insurance provider, GSRMA, and they weren't very pointed on what needed to be said on the sign, but they were basically just said you need to have a rule signage that releases liability in case the district is sued for whatever reason. So we didn't comply with that. They did provide about half a dozen examples from other communities, sports courts, their signs. So I kind of picked and choose from those examples and put together ours. Now, will there be much enforcement of it? Most likely not. But
Well,
it's there just to release liability.
Well, no, but I also think that's exactly what Tesh is talking about as far as putting that into a policy, right? Because then it's covering our ass, right? So again, thank you for that. So I'm gonna have to agree with Tesh on the fact that it doesn't have to be overdrawn, overblown. It needs to do the minimum so it covers us, so it follows Tristan's same thing. We don't want to be overburdensome, overcumbersome, but seems like everything has to have a policy, so let's do what we gotta do.
I also wanted to talk about the golf course as far as when there is tournament play.
that it's not exclusive for tournament, that people can, the public can still come and play through, and they did that, and this tournament worked out really well. And I even got some lighthouse donations from people that were just playing through.
Nice.
So it was a wonderful event.
Yeah.
But, I don't think we should ever make at least the golf course exclusive for tournament play.
I also got some feedback, and a lot of people are saying that the $15 green fee is a little bit low. I mean, I would not want to, I would think like maybe $20 if we were even going to talk about that. But,
This is our opportunity to change the
We're
fees.
talking.
okay, cool. Well, then, you know what? I mean, I think like that's not that, I mean, $15, that's like barely a coffee and a bagel. And for how much maintenance and everything, I think I think we should raise it. I think $20. I mean, I would.
Well, we are golf links and not a golf course.
I know, but still, I mean, $15 for a whole experience, like, that's the other thing. You make things like too cheap, people don't pay for it. Oh, and that was the other thing. The thing wasn't working. That was like a month ago. Is it working now?
Yeah, it was last week.
Okay, cool.
But I'm
'Cause-
going to say that I agree with you, but unfortunately or fortunately, how you look at it, as a golfer, it's great. Go out there anytime, no one's ever on it. So it goes back to that. If it was always booked, I could see raising it. And I think it is too cheap, so I could still see raising it, but again, it goes back to, you don't want to make it so anyone pays less because it's never booked.
Yeah. But
If
then,
you look at the revenue, it kind of says the same thing. We don't get a lot of money from it, so that means there's a lot of people not playing.
yeah, but then I also feel like $15 is such a small amount that people don't feel like they have to pay for it. It's almost like, $15, but I don't know. So
No, I agree.
it's, yeah.
I think that's the same on the airport parking fee. I think that's pretty damn cheap too.
Yeah.
So it's like, where do you pick? Well, I think that's back to that discussion. I think everything has to be addressed. I think that everything probably does need to go up because of where we stand.
And I'm in agreement with you guys. I think $20 is reasonable. Increase. Yes.
I don't know.
Where's Arlen?
Yeah. Where's Arlen when you need them?
Okay, so modifications. Do we have recommendations for modifications? I would make a recommendation to increase it to $20.
I personally, I would love to wait till Hillary does whatever he does, and then we can address it. I think that he
Altogether.
may say more. He may say, I'm just gonna say that I'm kind of holding back on everything until that meeting. I think it's gonna be that beneficial. And then I think that the next one's gonna be everything that we need to address.
But we are making recommendations to tighten our belts even more.
Absolutely.
Um,
I will,
what
I do.
further directions do we need to be given?
as we're looking at the whole fee schedule, there will be a recommendation I'm going to make next month, and that's to remove policy 1060, which is the crime prevention reward. I don't think that's relevant in our purview. You can see on page 8 of the fee schedule that it's minimum $250 reward for reporting crime against district property. I kind of think that's not relevant to our.
Until we need it. Until we need it.
Yeah, you know, the only thing, that was the last time they posted it, but we don't know.
We didn't actually pay out on that.
Get a picture.
So what,
Ring.
for clarification, what directions are you hearing from us right now?
Looking at greens fees, adjusting those, and trying to make budget cuts in general.
Well, and input and some serious conversation with your two superintendents.
Yeah. And remember, wants and needs are two completely different things. We don't want the district to suffer either. So we gotta find that happy medium and do our part. So.
That sounds like.
Do we have a motion for first reading on this or not? We do. We have to go to public comment too. Are we all done up here? Yeah. Public comment?
Come on, Jack.
Jack, what's going on with my, hello, 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 oh, it's done.
Good morning. Budgets. So, I know it's really, really hard. I mean, I've sat where you guys are at
Many
many
years.
years. And so I know exactly what you guys are talking about. I'm really encouraged to see some of Chris's ideas. As you know, it's part of it, labor is like one of our biggest things. I love the staff we have. I don't want to see any furloughs or anything like that. I was really encouraged to see Chris's inclusion of the part-time general labor. Honestly, in my opinion, I think it's a mistake to hire full-time general laborers. We pay 3 times as much for a full-time position as we do for part-time. I'm part-time. I'd love to be full-time. I'd love to get that benefits. But I mean, you look at one full-time person, the district is paying what, $30,000+ a year just in insurance costs benefits for that one person. So for to have like a part-time laborer with the goal to work up to a full-time position, I think that's a great thing. And most of my things are kind of more for moving towards into the future. You know, obviously I don't think that any of our people should be cut from full-time to part-time, but I think maybe moving forward that we just deal with part-time general laborers, you can kind of get more bang for your buck. I think it is pretty ridiculous that the water treatment guys are working 6 or 7 days a week rather than doing overtime. What about the possibilities of shifting a schedule, having somebody scheduled Wednesday through Sunday so they're actually working set and working the weekends. I work weekends even for the district, and even when I had my own business, weekends is what I worked. You know, that's when I was busy. So the ability, and I don't know if that would be part on the MOU or what. Obviously, this has to be, you know, conversation with staff who would be willing to do it. I know there's licensing issues and stuff like that. So it's not a simple cut and dry, but just trying to think bigger box, you know, getting somebody actually scheduled for those days that we're actually paying somebody overtime. You know, it may be a small benefit or small decrease in that overtime cost, but any decrease is a good decrease. And I also think the district should really look forward. Hate to put it on the grants. That's probably the only way we're going to be able to do it. But I know we're there with our digital meters for doing remote monitoring, getting our water meters to the same level of replacing our water meters. Again, I know that's a huge project with big money, but there's possibilities for actual grant for something like that. Then we're taking basically one general laborer 1 day to do all our meter readings rather than 3 days of staff time every month. So, you know, and opening that person up. So I think your idea, I'm fully for your idea of the charging stations, but what we're going to get out of it, I mean, we're maybe looking at 10,000, 20,000. I don't know what you pay for power. I drive gas, and unfortunately, I drive a diesel, so you have to pay a lot. But I don't know what people pay for charging stations. I see that as being some kind of a revenue source, but not that large of a revenue source. You know, diversification, the more you can get is great. You know, if you have more like that. Yeah, I think that's a good idea as far as increasing our availability and appealing to the more tourists coming in. I see Simi doing it with his places, and yeah, I see people at those charging stations all the time. I don't know if he's really making money off of those, or if it's just an incentive to get people to stay at the places. I take a look at the numbers on that. I don't know if we're actually going to get revenue that much to actually pay for it, especially having charging stations, you know, 100 yards from the most corrosive environment on the planet, basically. So I know just parking my truck across the street from my coffee shop, I used to get salt on my truck all the time, and you know, and just being there, seeing all the rust and everything else. So those are just a couple things. I don't envy you guys. I appreciate my time on the board, but this is one of the times I'm not in your seat anymore. So yeah, I think you guys are on the right track, but definitely thinking out of the box on some of this. Obviously, some of these capital things can't always happen. But again, even with the budget cuts, what I was seeing on that budget cut line, like 60% of those were maintenance. And
we're talking deferred maintenance, and here we are looking at 25% cuts on the deferred maintenance budgets already. So kind of deferring that even further. And I agree. I mean, it's a hard decision to make. None of these are easy choices. So, but I just kind of wanted to give up a couple of suggestions that I had sitting back there. I think the tournament thing is great. I didn't realize it wasn't exclusive. I think if anybody wants exclusive use of our facilities, then absolutely they need to pay some kind of fee. We do for everything else. We were just talking about for the sports court, community center, that kind of thing. And because these are public use areas, so if the public is being excluded from being able to use their facilities, the district should at least get some kind of compensation for the public. But yeah, that was it. So thank you guys.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Jen.
what you guys are doing.
I do have one comment for you about the part-time employee. We are a proud unionized employer, and we would have to meet and defer with the union prior to even doing that and get the parameters of that, because you've got basically a scab worker part-time who could be doing unionized work. So there's that fine line there that we're going to have to dance for that, and we've got to talk to the union about that and see what our parameters are, what they'll go with.
And also including retention.
Yeah.
Kind of makes it a little bit a stickier, thornier issue.
Right.
Uh, yeah, I don't think that it would behoove the district to get rid of a full-time general laborer that is currently bouncing between all the departments and helping fill the gaps where necessary. Really what, in my opinion, what the district needs is a part-time Parks and Rec employee that is dedicated to Parks and Rec and maintenance around like our district buildings. I think that'd be very beneficial, but again, whether we can afford that. And then the other thing that we haven't even talked about is our janitorial position and cleaning. Right now we have one person on staff that cleans the clubhouse only 4 hours a week. And it's just been going on years now of complaints about how the community center looks for events. So at some point, we are also going to need to address that. And again, it takes a lot of money to run this district. I hope people can appreciate that. One last thing that I forgot to mention. One way that we can help lower the cost of district utilities from what the RID uses itself, because we are also one of the biggest users, consumers, is I would like to see a plan on for the future on how we can reduce our utility usage for the district. It's taxpayer money that pays for that. And so I think that would benefit everybody, is if we are able to really come up with a solid plan on how are we going to get our buildings onto solar, getting that SCADA done would also help lower the utility costs on that, and in the long run, it'll benefit us all.
Okay. Is that it for public comment? Yes. All right.
I gotta make one more conversation.
Oh.
I would love to know, out of all the utility companies we have, are we like the only one that doesn't have a solar panel?
Yeah.
Feels like it.
Right, so I think that, again, I know there's grants available. And I know that we need, some ponds covered for algae. I think we need to be back to that proactive, but we need solar panels. I mean, let's get in line with the times. And that's the fastest and easiest way to really reduce our footprint. So I think that needs to be a priority in there somewhere.
Or we could have a board volunteer be searching for grants and be a grant writer for us. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I hope that next guy gets on there and does it.
Love to hear what Hillary has to say about that. I think that's in his big plan.
Yeah, That's what I kind of got too.
We'll see about that.
But I will second Jeff on the solar panels. I mean, it'd be amazing. We're a utility company. If we could get solar panels and generate our own power and sell it back to the people, like
We already have.
that's exactly what we should be doing. And that is the way of the future, whether or not, we want to be a part of it. Like that is going to, we get the sun for free. Like there's a lot of companies trying to come up with other ways where they can make some, but like if we got the panels up, we could be creating money. Yeah.
We need to get John to start talking with PG&E and get them those transmission lines increased so that we can sell back our power.
All right, let's get a motion roll. Mike is dead.
I'll make a motion. Okay, so what is my motion? That I'm approving this first reading? I'll make a motion to
bring that with adjustments.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to bring back the budget, the 2026-27 budget with adjustments and for the second reading.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Mike Flurry,
Aye.
Kristen Sanders,
Aye.
Jeff Hildreth,
Aye.
Beth Bonheim, absent, Tricia Shane.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, our last action item of the day. See if this thing's even working here. Here we go.
Update the job description, fire chief, emergency services director, policy number 2390, and part-time chief of duty officer, policy number 2389.
Yeah, so this is a little bit of housekeeping and updating. As you guys know, when we go out with OES and CAL FIRE through ABH and Master Mutual Aid Agreement, we get reimbursed for our time at our rate. So we do a thing called the salary survey. In the process of updating our salary survey, we found that our position descriptions conflict with policy 2010. And so on mine, it says I'm an exempt employee, I don't get overtime. However, I'm not technically an exempt employee. If you look at the laws of exempt employees, I'm a salary employee who can get vacation in lieu of overtime is what my position description says. Then 2010 has nothing about that. When we go out of county, I get $30 an hour. Here it's $80 an hour equivalent. So the district's losing out on that reimbursement cost quite a bit a year. We don't pay it, but it's potential income that we would get coming in. Same thing with Chief Hargrave's position, the part-time duty officer, or duty chief, sorry. His says explicitly exempt from overtime on it, and he's not an exempt employee. He's a part-time employee. So a part-time employee goes over 40 hours in a work week. He's at a 20-hour cap, but that's $999 a year. So he can still go out. And then when he goes out of county, he's working a different classification under the limited term emergency responder. If we get a call for CAL FIRE runs all the vegetation fires in Shelter Cove. So if it goes beyond 2 hours, we get reimbursed even within our district. If we go outside of our district, we get reimbursed for the time to call. Our current salary survey on there is also base rates. So even though Jack's getting $45 an hour on that call, we're actually losing money on the CAL FIRE reimbursement. And so that's something that we're updating today. So I'm not going to get any more money. Still going to be working for free a lot of days. Jack's still going to be working for free a lot of days. When it comes down to it per policy, Chris can approve my overtime regardless. So if I'm here and I said, I work, 10 hours overtime, and I go to Chris on my time card, he can say, I didn't approve that. I'm not paying out that overtime. Right? So just because I can get overtime, just because Grant, I would approve Jack's overtime, right? So that's the process and the change. Just because it says in policy that we can get it doesn't mean we just get it automatically because we come in and decide to work. Those hours still are restricted. Now, as soon as we go out of county, as soon as we get that order, we go on OES's clock. They reimburse us for every second, whether we're sleeping, whether we're eating, whatever it is, we get reimbursed for that rate. So by cleaning this up and taking it out of our position description, we will also have to update policy 2010. The second part of this is, as we switch over to CalPERS, there's a possibility that part-time employees can buy into their own medical benefits out of pocket. So there's an admin fee to that. We're still estimating the admin fee. We won't know until everybody picks their plans and then it's a percentage of that plan. But I'm going to estimate around $1,600 to $2,000, but under $5,000 if Chief Hargraves decides to pay into his own health benefit. He still has the option not to, But if he does, we want to get ahead of that. His current position description says 0 benefits, 0 overtime. So we want to clean that up. That's pretty much the gist of it.
Sounds like that.
I read it.
Yeah, sounds pretty, look pretty simple to me. I got no issues with it.
I have zero.
No, all right, we're all good.
So,
Let's go to public comment. No, that's public comment? Well, while we're waiting for Tesh to come back, are we gonna be looking at getting deployed to Southern California maybe?
Probably not Southern California. There's about 5,000 fire engines between here and there. But and we are looking at a busy fire season. You know, and that is one thing with us pulling our reports to the consent calendar. If you guys want to come talk to me at any point and get a rundown or, you know, a synopsis of my report, feel free to. I'm here 24/7, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So just give me a heads up. I can meet anytime. It is going to be a busier fire season. We're already seeing it. We've had fires from Del Norte all the way down to San Diego. You know, ours is going to be a little bit later, but I was just talking with Tesha about our field out front right out in the week. So it was green last week. And so these winds and these temperatures are going to dry our area out very quickly. It is still burn season, but that's going to be closing here very shortly, probably in June.
Okay. Tesh, you got anything on that on this? We're all good, public comment and everything? No? So let's get a motion going.
No, I think the only comment is just that there is, as far as the overtime goes, Chris still has to sign off on and approve anything like that, so it doesn't affect us financially.
so I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to update the job description, fire chief emergency service director, policy number 2390, and part-time chief duty officer, policy number 2389.
I will second that motion.
Roll call.
Scott Hilger,
Aye.
Tricia Shane,
Aye.
Beth Sondheim, absent. Mike Story,
Aye.
Kristen Sanders.
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there any unfinished business that we have not addressed on this meeting today? With that being said, I'll throw out another 13 hours to adjourn.